Okay, good morning. Thank you all. We are also going live on YouTube, so I'll be sending you the link right away in the chat box. So if you're having any troubles with the platform, you can go directly on YouTube and well uh, see it from there. So once again, thank you all for being here in this webinar about inverter solutions. Uh, Great. Please let me know. I see that you can hear well. Please let me know if you have any troubles. Let's wait 1 minute more and then we can begin the webinar. We can start. Okay, perfect. So my name is Carlos Fernandez. I'm the international commercial coordinator for Mako Solar. You have all my info here. You can also find all the information you need to from Mako in our webpage here down below, our LinkedIn webpage also, and Mako Solar YouTube channel where we upload all our webinars in Spanish, and now that we are doing it in English also. So please feel free to go and check it out on our YouTube channel. That it's really good. Well, let's start by a short presentation of what it's Mako and what we do in Mako Solar. So Mako, it's a company dedicated to wholesale distribution in all Latin America and the Caribbean. We are almost being founded 100 years ago. So we were founded in 1922. We have sales for more than $100 million per year. We are more than 700 employees and 30,000 B2B customers. So these B2B customers is very important because we only sell to other companies. We don't sell to the final customer. So that it's very, very important in the way we do business. Uh, this is what it's Mako. We are seven commercial divisions that are completely independent one each other. Uh, we share a back office that it's the same, that it's finance, logistics, administrative, but commercially we are completely independent each division. Okay, in our divisions we have about here also home what we do in the Mako Solar division. This is very important because we only do distribution. Hello, can you hear me? I think we had another issue with the platform. Please let me know if you can hear me again. If you can see my screen, I think, okay. Okay, thank you, because we're having troubles with the platform. Okay. Great. Perfect. So I was telling you, Mako Solar Division is exclusively dedicated to solar equipment distribution. Okay, we don't develop projects, we don't install projects, we don't do consulting. We only dedicate to distribution of the equipment, and the persons and the companies we work with are exactly the installers, the developers, and the EPCs. We don't sell to the final customer. and we don't go and offer full projects or development of projects. Where we do this, we do it in all Latin America and the Caribbean, okay? I'm gonna show you that a bit later. So what we can offer and what we offer to our customers is, it's first of all, convenience and accessibility. That means that you can find with us whatever you need for your solar project, so that it's modules, inverters, racking, BOS. So everything you need for a solar project, you can find it with us. You don't have to go and find 4 or 5 different um, providers or manufacturers. Uh, Very important also the experience in logistics. We are a company with 100 years that we are really, really capable in the logistics part. So that is very important because we can send to right now 21 countries in all over Latin America and the Caribbean. Uh, High quality and cutting edge technology, it's also very important because we only sell the best products in the market with the best quality, the best warranties, and that it's almost very important, also very important, because the warranty, as you know, in a project that it's 15, 20, 25 years long, it's something that you have to be really aware of. So not only the warranty for the manufacturer and the product, but also the support of the company that is selling the products to you. So when you're buying from us, that it's a really solid company, you know that in 10, 15, 20 years that you need a warranty, or the support of the company that sold the product to you, we're gonna be there and we're not gonna disappear one day to another. Okay. This is our strategic location, our warehouses. We have 2 international warehouses. Our main warehouse right now, it's in Panama. It's our logistics hub. We have inventory of modules, inverters, racking, well, basically every product in the line. Also, we have a warehouse in Miami, where we mainly work with the inverters, SMA inverters and BOS. And we are shipping all over Latin America and the Caribbean to all more than 21 countries right now, really. And we also have a specific logistics inside Colombia with 14 warehouses, and we ship all over Colombia also inside Colombia. So that is what is Mexico. And well, let's start with the topic of the webinar. So let's begin by making and getting clear what is an on-grid inverter. This is very, very, let's say, basic, but there are some things that normally when you are developing projects are not clear. So what is an on-grid inverter? An on-grid inverter, it's a transformless inverter, okay? So it's an inverter that doesn't have a transformer inside, okay? It's only a current inverter element. So what does make an on-grid inverter? You have, with the solar module, a energy generation that it's in direct current. As you can see here, direct current, direct voltage is the black line in the graph. So you're gonna have a constant voltage, a constant current, and then you have the grid, that is the red one, okay, and the blue one here, the blue graph in this graphic, okay. So what you have in the grid is an oscillating voltage, okay, that it's 50 or 60 hertz. It depends on when it is, on where it is, but you have an oscillating voltage. So what you have to do is to convert and invert, that it's the right word, this voltage into the blue one, okay? So to do that, what the inverter does is to invert not the voltage, but the current. So what he make is that he take the reference of the blue graph, the blue oscillating voltage, he senses that voltage, and he take that to start inverting the current of the modules. And in that way, he can transform all the energy that is direct current energy in AC current energy. So this is very important. If you don't have a grid, you can't inject energy. Why? Because you don't have the reference of the grid to be able to inject the current in the way that the grid needs it. Okay, so when you don't have a grid, the on-grid inverter will be completely lost and can't deliver that energy. So it's not only because of safety reasons that it's very important also, but it's also important because you lost the reference and then you can't inject the energy in the right way. Okay, so this is very important when we are talking about on-grid inverters. So no grid, no energy injection. Okay, let's see the type of grids and the voltage we find usually. Okay, this is more for American inverters and American grids, but we can find different ones. Okay, the first type of grid is the split phase, that is the also called monophase. This split phase, it's normally in voltage of 208 volts, 220 volts, and 240 volts. We're gonna see later, and we're gonna go in detail, but we're gonna see that we have solutions for this type of grids and this type of voltage with the ENPHASE microinverters, with the FRONIUS string inverters, and with the SMA string inverters. For the three-phase that we have three lines, neutral, underground, we're gonna have two different voltage. So the low voltage that it's normally called, that is 208 to 240 volts, where we can find solutions with ENPHASE and FRONIUS. And then we have the normal voltage or the high voltage that it's from 380 volts to 480 volts. So in that voltage, we have two solutions with SMA and with FRONIUS, okay? So these are the main type of grids that you're gonna find. From 50 to 60 hertz, it can be different voltage that is very important, but this is like a big map of the type of grids and voltage you're gonna find and which is gonna be the solution with the manufacturers we work with, okay? So let's start with the split phase. In the split phase solution, we have three types of solution. We have the ENPHASE IQ7 microinverters that you can find here in below left, okay, in the bottom left. Then we have the FRONIUS Primo family, that these string inverters have different powers from 3.8 kilowatt to 15 kilowatt. And then we have the SMA Sonny Boy family, that it's also string inverters from 3 kilowatt to 7.7 kilowatt. This is only the American versions. We also have the European versions that have also different powers, but we're gonna talk about mainly about the US versions, okay? So these are the three different solutions you can find for this type of grid, that is the split phase one, okay? Let's start by the microinverters. Okay, the microinverters are very, very interesting for projects that are residential or small commercial. Okay, the power of a microinverter is 295 volt ampere. So basically 295 watts of power, AC power. And it works for almost every grid voltage that you can find in split phase. So 240, 220, 208. It depends on the countries we are installing, but basically, whatever voltage you find with split phase, you can install the ENPHASE microinverter. Something that is very important in the ENPHASE microinverter is that you need one microinverter per module. This is very different to other manufacturers because in other manufacturers, you can find microinverters that use one microinverter for 2 or for 3 or for 4 modules. In this case, it's only for one module. And this is very important because that's the way ENPHASE does. And well, that thing, this is that is the best solution for microinverters. I'm gonna show it to you later why. Then you have online monitoring using the Envoy. So you can do the monitoring of your project module by module using the Envoy. The Envoy is the communications gateway device. So you can find it here. I'm gonna explain this to you later. And also very important, you have the ability to make the grid zero export with the installation of the Envoy. Okay, so with setting the Envoy and adjusting the Envoy with the settings you need, you can have the zero exportation management of the project. So if you don't want to go and sell to the grid energy, you can do it. If you want to sell, you can do it also. But this is something that is very, very important, because with other microinverters, you're not able to do this. So when you don't want to make any export to the grid, this is something you can do with ENPHASE without having to put any additional pieces or accessories to the project. So this is the way you can see an ENPHASE project. You have one module and one microinverter per module. Then you go directly to the connection point where you put the Envoy. The Envoy is just a monitoring device. And also you have the communication of the microinverter to the Envoy via PLC, power line communication. So you don't need a Bluetooth connection, Wi-Fi connection that usually goes really, really wrong and have trouble to communicate with the microinverters. You have everything via power line communication. So the communication between the Envoy and the microinverters, it's really, really effective, okay? This is the way you connect a microinverter. So you have the two lines, line 1, line 2, and the neutral. In this case, you don't have a neutral to connect the microinverter. It goes only to the two lines, and the neutral is only a reference for the Envoy, okay? So let's see the main advantages of using a microinverter. So you're wondering why I would put one microinverter per module if I can make arrangements of 10 modules or 4 modules with other microinverters. The answer is this one. We have the same solution, the same conditions in the left side than in the right side, okay? In the left side, imagine we're having a string inverter connected to these modules. In the right side, you will have one microinverter per module. So one module has a scratch, one other is absolutely and this one has hotspots, okay? So we have modules that are working 100% and others that are working with lower efficiency, okay? So in this case, with the string inverter will set the MPPT, the tracking of the maximum point of power, to the lowest module in that string. So when you have this, you will have a complete efficiency and complete power generation of only the 50%, even if you can make in other modules that are working perfectly the 100%, okay? In the right side is the same scenario. The only difference is you're not having a string inverter, you're only having one microinverter per module. In this case, each module, it's a complete independent world. So what happens to this module doesn't make any difference in the one that you have in the side. So in this case, you're not having the 50% of the generation because each microinverter has its own MPPT and it's set to the parameters of that specific module. And then you're gonna have the 84.2% of the efficiency or the power generation because it's the average of the power generation you're gonna have for each module. So that's the benefit of the microinverters. You're gonna have better and more power generation in the projects where you're gonna find these type of conditions. Those projects are normally residential or commercial. When you have trees, you have wires, you have well, different orientations in the modules, shades, whatever you can find in a residential and small commercial, that's the project you will find better for ENPHASE because the difference in power generation is gonna be really, really high. So in that case, it's gonna be a bit higher investment at the beginning, but then with the more energy you produce, you're gonna have a payback earlier than with a string inverter. Okay, please let me know if you have any question. You can write it on the chat box or in the Q&A box also. So please let me know if you have any question. I'm gonna try to solve it right away. Let's go now with the Sunny Boy inverters. These are string inverters. They are also for residential and small commercial projects. The US versions have powers from 3 to 7.7 kilowatts, as you can see here, okay? This is very important. You have two MPPTs in the version of 3.0 kilowatt and 3.8 kilowatt, but you have three MPPT that it's a lot for a project this small, that it's from the versions from 5 kilowatt to 7.7 kilowatt, okay? This also works for whatever voltage you will find in the split phase region. So it's from 240 to 208 volts, depending on the country. And very important, it has online monitoring included. And something that it's really, really important is the SMA shade fix that I'm going to explain to you later. The connection of the Sonny Boy family, it's as you can see it right here. You have the two lines and the neutral. In this case, the inverter does need the neutral for the connection. So you have the three wires directly to the grid. And something that it's not very common, and that it's something that it's really, really interesting of these inverters, is that you have a 2000 watt, 2 kilowatt continuous power without electrical grid while you still have photovoltaic generation. What does it mean? As we talked earlier on, if you don't have a grid, you can't inject energy from the inverters and the solar system, okay? So if you don't have a grid, even if you have sun, you can't use that power that you're generating and the energy you're generating in the modules. So what does this auxiliary outlet power? This is a small transformer, okay? A small transformer inside the inverter. It's an auxiliary socket that you can connect to a set of charge that are important charge for you. For example, if you have, for example, the laptop or the TV or the air conditioner that you think is the most important things in your house, you can connect to that power supply, that auxiliary power supply of the inverter that it's here on the side, that kind of charge. And if you have sun and you have some generation, even if you don't have grid, you can use that socket and you will have generation and energy production to those devices connected to that socket. So that's really, really interesting feature of these inverters. Is very, very important because it's what makes the difference with other on-grid inverters in the region of split phase grids, okay? So let's talk about the SMA shade fix. So as I told you before, this is a problem of the string inverters. All the modules are gonna be working with the less productive module of the string, okay? So SMA also, well, they know the problem that this has, and they find a solution for this. Is not the perfect solution, but it's a really good solution for string inverters. So what we have here in the blue line, it's the power graph that you will have of a solar system without shades, okay? So let's see, this is 2 p.m., for example, in a house. You don't have any shade, it's direct, direct sun. And then we have with the red line, a 9:30 a.m. scenario. So in this case, you're gonna have shades from trees, from whatever type of shades. And in this case, what you're gonna find, it's a power graph that it's in that strange way, okay? So what normally the MPPT of an inverter does, it's to start working and start looking for the maximum power point from this side, okay? So it starts going up here, up here, up here, up here. And then when he finds the local MPP, this is the point where it starts to generate the power, okay? So it starts to work here. But as you can see, this is only a local MPP. This is not a general MPP. The general MPP is right here. And this shape of the graph is because you have these type of conditions. You're gonna have a module that it's really bad, that it's represented in this point, and you're gonna have the other modules that are working a lot better. So you're gonna try to work, and the algorithm for the SMA shade fix is not looking from this side, but looking from the two sides, the whole curve. So in that way, you find the general and the highest MPP of that curve. So in that way, you're not losing this amount of power. You're generating the most of the project you can with a string inverter. So it's gonna be always less than a microinverter, but this is really, really important because it's not the scenario that you have here that all the modules are gonna work on the 50%. They're gonna work something between 70%. So it's lower than the microinverters, but better than with usual string inverters. Okay, so that is very, very important here to have into account. And all the Sony boys, the US Sony boys, have this SMA shade fix algorithm in their MPPTs. Okay, let's go with the Fronius Primo. Okay, the Fronius Primo, it's also for residential and small commercial projects. The powers are from 3.8 kilowatt to 15 kilowatt. So we have a wide range of inverters. As you can see with the SMA, you only go to 7.7 kilowatt. So these inverters are really good for small commercial usually that have more power need and more consumption. All the inverters in this range have 2 MPPT, so no 3 MPPT as in the SMA, and the grid voltage at in the previous ones is whatever you find in split phase, 240, 220, 208. Okay. It also has its online monitoring, including in the full versions. So this is very important. Fronius has two categories with their inverters. So they have the full version and the light version. The main difference and the only difference you have between the full version and the light version is that the full version has the data manager, that is the card, the communication card inside the inverter. The light versions doesn't have that data manager card, okay? So that is very important because with Fronius, you don't need all the inverters in a project to be full. You only need one inverter with the capability of transmitting all the info, and the others can be light inverters. So you're gonna have a lower inversion, yes, low cost, and you only need one inverter to be transmitting and making all the transmission of the information to the web, okay? So in this case, it's really interesting, but you have to be aware that you need always a full version if you want to have monitoring your projects, okay? You need one full version and then you can use the others as light, okay? In Fronius, as in SMA, we have also the Fronius Dynamic Peak Manager that is the same as the shade fix from SMA. I'm gonna explain it also here, but it's the same. And very, very important that the SMA doesn't have this feature with the US inverters with their hardware. You need a third-party hardware to do that. In this case, you have the smart meter that it's the grid zero element that you're gonna need to, well, first of all, to do the monitoring of the consumption of the customer, and then this can take the and well send the order to the inverter to load the production to be able to work with the grid zero and no injection of yeah, energy to the grid. Okay, so let's see the Fronius Primo dynamic, the dynamic peak manager from the Fronius part is the same as in the SMA shade fix. So you're not watching only the local MPP from the right of the curve, you're watching the whole curve in order to find always the general MPP and not the local MPP, okay? So I see we have a question. Okay, let's see the question, if I can answer it right now. That's a really good question from Rand. So the question, I think it's based on the main feature of the SMA inverters. of the Sunny Boy inverters, that is this power output of 2000 watts in the auxiliary output socket. So Rand, you can connect to this auxiliary output socket. That is, yeah, it's actually a socket that you can put whatever auxiliary circuit you need. Okay, so you can make an auxiliary circuit, okay, with the main loads you want to cover with this 2000 watts. Okay, so this is very important. This socket only works when you lose the grid. Okay, it doesn't work continuously. It only works when you lose the grid, and in that case, that is when it starts to generating. Okay, so that is basically how that works. Okay, so if you have grid, the auxiliary output socket is not working. Okay, it only starts to work when you lose the grid, and then it start to put power to that charges. Okay, so that is very important to have you to have in account when you are designing the project. So you have to have the two circuits in order to be able to to have the support of the inverter when you don't have the grid. Okay. Okay, let's move on. If you have another question, please let me know in the chat box, or we can continue. Okay, I see there's no other questions, so we can continue with the three-phase inverters. So the first case we're gonna talk about of the three-phase, it's the low voltage three-phase that it's very common in Latin America, not too much in the Caribbean, but I've seen it. This is the three-phase, three lines of 120 volts. So it's the three-phase 208 or 240 volts. Okay. In this case, you can only use ENPHASE microinverters, okay, IQ7, or the FRONIUS SIMO low voltage inverters that are 10, 12, and 15 kilowatt. SMA doesn't have a solution for this, but it's coming soon. So really soon, we're gonna be making a webinar about this inverter. It's gonna be launched very, very soon to the market, okay? So for now, we can only use the ENPHASE IQ7 Plus and the FRONIUS SIMO from our catalog, okay? So let's see how we can connect an ENPHASE IQ7 microinverter that it's a split phase inverter in a three-phase connection. So it's really, really easy. You, once again, you have one microinverter per module, and you have also the possibility of doing the grid zero even with the three-phase. But in this case, what you're gonna do is you have to build three circuits, okay? Three split phase circuits, as you can see here. So the three-phase circuit that you're gonna have the connection point, you're gonna have three lines and the neutral, okay? So you have to build three microinverter circuits. It doesn't, well, the amount of micros per, in this case, per circuit is not important. The important is that the circuits are balanced. What is to be balanced is that the number of microinverters per circuit is the same. So you have the same power in each circuit, okay? So you're gonna put the first circuit of microinverters between line 1 and 2, the second one between line 1 and 3, and the third one between line 3 and line 2, okay, as you can see here. Then you're gonna put the IQ, the envoy, the three-phase envoy in the middle, yeah? And you're gonna have reference of the three lines and the neutral. So this is the way you can install ENPHASE in a three-phase low voltage connection and grid type, okay? Let me know if you have any question. It's really, really easy. We're gonna be doing some ENPHASE webinars later in the future. So we're gonna explain this more detailed, but it's really, really easy to do it, okay? With the FRONIUS SIMO, we have directly the inverter that it's three-phase. So the exit of the inverter is three-phase. And this is the SIMO version. It's dedicated and aimed for small and medium commercial projects. Okay, normally in residential projects, you don't have three phases. You only have split phase. So this is for commercial use. And because of the powers is for small and medium projects normally. Okay, so the powers we have here is 10, 12, and 15 kilowatts. Uh, as I told you, we have three phases of exit of the inverter, and very important, two MPPTs for the 10 and 12 kilowatt versions, and only one MPPT for the 15 kilowatt inverter. Okay, the grid voltage you can use and you can work with for the 10 and 12 kilowatt, you can work 240 to 20 208. With the 15 kilowatt, you only can work in 208 volts. Okay, you as in the Primo versions, you have the online monitoring included in the full versions. So here you also have the full version and the light version, the same as I explained it to you before. So you need a full inverter, the full version inverter in a project, and then the others can be light. And you have also with the smart meter, the grid zero function that you can program. This is the way you connect the inverter. So you have the three lines. So you have to connect the three lines, the neutral and the ground to the inverter. Okay. So really straightforward, really easy to install. This is really interesting product. Is one of the the best selling products from FRONIUS in all Latin America. This is an example, a project installed 1 month ago in El Salvador with our customer SIA. These are SIMO 15 kilowatts, so you can have the number of inverters you need. That is not a problem. One is full and the other one is light. As you can see, it's the same inverter. The only difference between one another is that this one have the data manager and this one doesn't. And also, you can't see it right here, but you have also in this project the smart meter for doing grid zero programmation and no export to the grid to sell energy. Okay. Okay, let's go to the three-phase inverters, but in this case, it's high voltage, or not high voltage, but let's say usual voltage, that it's from 380 volts to 480 volts. In this case, SMA is the strongest player in this field. So we have the Core One family that are string inverters, 33 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, 62 kilowatt. And then we have the newest versions that is the one you can find here in this picture. And this is also string inverter, the Sony High Power Peak 3, that it's 125 kilowatt and 150 kilowatt. And we have now, okay, we have a question from Rand. Let's solve the question. Can the SIMO inverters be stacked? If so, how many SIMOs can be stacked together? That's a really good question, Rand. Really good question, Rand. Let me show it to you. You can stack the number. The number is not important. You can put 20, 30, 40, whatever you need. The limitation here is the number of inverters you can put connected to one full inverter. Okay, so one full inverter has a limit of light inverters that you can connect to. Okay, so I'm not actually sure of that number right now, but for example, there are projects that you can use 50 of these, 30 of these without any problem. You're gonna have to put, for example, I think it's around 6 inverters that you can put, 6 lights per one full. So in that case, you're gonna have to put more fulls, but you can put the power that you need. So it's no limitation the power. You can go 2 megawatts, 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts, or 50 kilowatts. That is not a problem from stacking the inverters. Okay, so no limitation with the power here. Okay, let's go back here. If you have any question or is not clear my answer, please let me know, Rand. So let's go back here. So this is the Core One family, okay? And this is the Sony High Power Peak 3, 125 and 150 kilowatts. So these are the most sold products for these families the three-phase 340, 380, 440, and 480. But now FRONIUS is launching the FRONIUS TAURO. It's not launching right now. It's been launched a few months ago. So it's a string inverter that it's gonna compete directly with the Core 1 solution and the SHP3. Okay, so it's a 50 kilowatt or a 100 kilowatt inverter. Okay, so this is I'm gonna explain this before. Okay, uh, perfect. So let's start with the Core 1 solution. Okay, the Core 1 family. This is these are inverters that are mainly aimed for projects that are commercial and industrial. Okay, this is an inverter that is usually used for roof projects. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you and I'm gonna explain why, but normally roof projects. Okay, so there are three different powers: 33 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, and 62 kilowatt. Is the same size, the same inverter. The only difference is the power. The exit of the inverter is three phases, as you can see here. Each phase is from 244 volts to 305 volts, so grid voltage of 480, between that 440 to 480 volts. And the main thing and the most important thing of this inverter is that it has 6 MPPTs, completely independent MPPTs. So this is really, really important because for roof projects in which you have different orientations or shadings or different length of the strings, with 6 MPPTs completely independent, you can find a way to design your project in the roof without sacrificing power or generation. So this is really, really important, and that's why this inverter won in 2017 the Intersolar Award for the best inverter. So it's been launched in 2017. It's been 3 years that it's been used in commercial projects, and it's right now the king of the family. It's really, really good inverter and really, really easy to design and to install it in your projects. So this one also has the online monitor included. There is no full on light. You only have the full version. Everyone has online monitor included, and that is very important. You don't need for these projects a connection unit or a string box or something like that. You go directly to the string box that it's built in the inverter. So that is also very important because you don't need to have a higher investment in the BOS. You go directly to the inverter. You don't need any accessory in between the modules and the inverter. Okay. So these are some images of this inverter installed. You can put it on the roof directly. It can handle rain and sun without a problem. So it goes here directly on the roof. You can put it as you see here with a platform, or you can put it right on the floor. Okay. So let's see the main parts of the inverter. So on the right side, you see all the DC connection. Okay, so you have the input, okay, the connection box. So you have all the DC input from the strings. So for each MPPT, you have 2 strings inputs, okay, as you can see here. So for each MPPT that are completely independent in each other, you can have 2 strings, okay? So you have 12 inputs, 6 MPPTs, and on the left side, you have the exit of the inverter that are the AC connection ports, okay? Underneath, you can find the 3 fans that are used for refrigerating the inside of the inverter. And well, these are really, really easy to reach when you are making the um, the maintenance of the project. It's really easy. You only have to flip the inverter and see if the fans are dirty, if you have to change a fan in 10 or 12 years, but you can do maintenance really easy. You flip the inverter, you can see the fans right away. You don't have to open the inverter. So really, really easy configuration, okay? So this is the way you can see an installation of Core 1 inverters. So you can put whatever the number you need to cover your project. You don't need to put cable between them to communicate one each other. You only have to connect them via Wi-Fi, and you don't have to put cable from the last inverter to the connection or the internet port, the, let's say, the router. You can go also Wi-Fi, so you don't need to use any cable. If you want, you can do it, but it's not needed. Okay, so everything via Wi-Fi, and as you can see, you don't need any stream box, connection unit, anything like that. Okay, so really, really good inverter is not right now the king for this type of projects. This is one of the newest SMA inverters. It's been almost a year since the launching of this product, and it's aimed mainly for industrial and small utility. Okay, so it is the Sunny High Power 3 family, two powers, 125 kilowatt and 150 kilowatt. The output is three phases. You only have one MPPT, and that's why this is only aimed for industrial and small utility, because when you have roofs with different orientation, different string lengths, shades, and all that, only one MPPT, you can be in trouble for your generation. But if you have a constant and homogeneous condition for the modules, you can go directly with this inverter, more power, less inversion, and less cost of the equipment. Okay, so the 125 kilowatt has an exit of 480 volts. The 150 kilowatt, you have an exit of 600 volts. So this is very important, because when you are installing in small utility, you don't care about the voltage. Even working with higher voltage is better. So working in 600 volts reduces the cost of the BOS, and you will also have to go upper to connect to 13.2 kilovolts or 32 kilovolts, I don't know, depending. So you don't have a problem working in higher voltage. It's even an advantage. You also have the online monitoring including this inverter, but in this one, you need an external combiner box, as you can see here. So this is the diagram of connection of the SHP3. So you have the inverters, you have to connect them with cable in this case. So it's daisy chain, you don't have to close the loop. So you only have to connect them one to each other. And from the last one, you can go directly to the data manager. And from the data manager, you can go to the router, okay? You have to use a DC combiner, a string box, or well, whatever you use for the modules. And well, as in the previous inverters, you don't have limitation in the amount of inverters you have to use. You can go as big as you need and as you want, okay? So you can go from 125 kilowatt project to 5, 10 megawatt, whatever you want and whatever you need, okay? Okay, if you have any question, please let me know. Okay, perfect. So let's see the FRONIUS TAURO, that it's the new generation for FRONIUS to start competing with SMA in this class. So the FRONIUS TAURO has two versions, the normal TAURO and the TAURO Eco, okay? So as you can see, it's the same inverter. The only difference is that the TAURO, the normal TAURO, has 3 MPPT and only comes in a 50 kilowatt type, okay? 50 kilowatt output. With the TAURO Eco, you're gonna have only 1 MPPT with powers of 50 kilowatt and 100 kilowatt, okay? So the main difference is the type of project you're gonna be installing this inverter. So if you're gonna be installing roof projects with different orientations, length of the chains, and well, everything of these shadings, you're mainly gonna be using the TAURO, normal TAURO, because you have the 3 MPPTs that is gonna be easier to design and to install the project. But if you're gonna be making homogeneous projects without difference in the lengths and shadings, you're mainly going to be using the Tauro Eco that it's 1 MPPT, and you can go with a higher power. Okay, so this inverter is also 3-phase, and it has also include the online monitoring inside. Okay, built-in online monitor. So what is really interesting of this inverter, and something really that we haven't seen before with Fronius or SMA, is that you can wire the inverters with a daisy chaining in the AC wiring. So this is really interesting because you don't have to take the cables, and you don't have to put cable from the inverter number 1 to the AC connection panel, from the inverter number 2 to the AC connection panel, from the inverter number N to the AC connection panel. What you can do is make a daisy chaining AC wiring, so you can go with the AC chaining, the AC wiring from inverter 1 to the 2, to the second, to the third, to the N inverter, and then from this, you can go to the AC panel. So in this way, you are making really good investment with the BOS. So you need less cable, and what is really important, less installation time. So it's really easy to install. So this is really new, really interesting, and it's gonna be really good for the installations time in the projects. Okay, so the daisy chaining AC wiring, it's really important here, and one of the biggest difference with these inverters. Something that is really important is that you can change the cards inside the inverter. You don't have to change the whole inverter when you have a problem. You can open up the inverter, change the card that you have a problem, or the stage of the inverter, and you don't lose the whole plant. You don't lose the whole generation. You only have your cards of replacement, and if you have a problem, you can replace it, and that's it. So PPA projects work really well with these types of inverters. Okay, please let me know if you have any question about this, if everything is clear. Okay, perfect. So you may ask, and this is very important, okay, so how can I design, how I can decide and design with these type of inverters? Because one thing is to know the characteristics, another thing is to be able to design with them. So each manufacturer has its own software. This is an online software. Both the SMA one and the FRONIUS one are completely free online softwares where you can design your project completely. So you can decide the length of your strings, the orientation of the modules, the positioning and the location of the project, the wiring. Well, you can do whatever with the Sunny Design web software. So if you haven't used it, go ahead, it's completely free. You only have to do the registration. You go ahead, put Sunny Design Web in Google, and you go directly to the web page. It's really easy. We also have webinars in our YouTube channel regarding this. I think it's in Spanish, but you can see the stage by stage for designing with this software. Now there is a new version that it's going out in these days. So for sure, we're gonna have a next webinar and really soon about the Sunny Design Web. Okay, so this is really interesting platform, and as I told you, you can be able to design, see if the design that you are making it's okay for the inverter, and also you can make some decisions about for example, the AC DC ratio. Well, everything you need to know about your project. We also have the FRONIUS Solar configurator that you can find the Solar web page. So you can put Solar Web in your Google search, and then you can go to the Solar configurator, and as in the Sunny Design Web, it's really easy. You can choose the inverter you want to use and see how you can design your strings and the connection of the inverters. Okay, so really easy. We also have a webinar talking about this in our YouTube channel, and we're gonna be making for sure an English version of this webinar really soon. And for the monitoring, that it's also really, really important, you have also the Sony portal, yeah, the SMA Sony portal. This is for monitoring the projects, online monitoring. So you can go directly to the Sony portal. You can see example installations. So you can go here to the examples and see how it is. But it's something like that. You have a panel with all the information of the project that you need. Generation, instant generation. You can go back in time, so you can see from the beginning of the project how is the production, the voltage, the current, well, whatever you need to see in the project. Okay. The same with the solar web. The solar web is really, really friendly. So you can see the status of your project as you see here. So you can have in this image the info of the generation in this instant, the consumption of the customer. If you have the smart meter, you can see how much are you selling or buying from the grid. And if you have batteries that it's coming really, really soon with the new inverters, you're gonna be able to see here the status of the batteries, the energy balance every day, the how much have you saved in money, in CO2 emissions, and well, basically whatever you need to see of your project. So completely free, included in all the inverters. You don't have to pay for it. So if you haven't seen this, please check it out because really, really good. And with ENPHASE, we have the Enlighten. That is the ENPHASE platform. You can use it in your phone, in your smartphone, directly on the app. You can see the information really, really good, as you can see here. Whatever type of information you want to see. And also you can do it directly in your computer. You have two phases, the Enlighten Manager, that it's for the installer, and the customer Enlighten, that it's really, really, well, more simple and more friendly to the final user. So if you are the installer, you probably want to see the complete information, as you can see here, the voltages, you can see the power, you can see the energy, you can see whatever you need to see module to module. That is the big difference. With ENPHASE, you can see the status of each module and the history of that module also. So really, really complete online monitoring with ENPHASE. Okay. So, well, that's it. This webinar, the idea is to have like a first approach to the inverters, the on-grid inverters, and the on-grid solutions we work with. We're gonna be making more webinars and going deeply in each manufacturer and in each version. So we're gonna be making Sunny Boy, for example, specialized webinar. We're gonna be making FRONIUS, Primo, and Simo specialized webinars. The core ones, the Sunny Boy storage, for example, that I know that it's really, really interesting for you. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here with us. Sorry for the inconvenience at the beginning, the technical issues. Please let me know if you have any question, and I'm gonna be here answering everything. So, okay, Rand, thank you. Yeah, of course. Well, Rand asked me if I'm gonna be distributing my contact in case you need or you have further questions. Yes, of course. So you can find my contact here. Well, this is Felipe Celis and Jimena Dayo's contact, that are our commercial engineers. So you can reach to them, or also you can reach to me. I'm gonna be sending you all the notes and the presentation of this webinar, so you can have it with you. And also in YouTube, you're gonna have the webinar completely uploaded. So if you want to see it again or send it to your team or whatever, you can send it to us. You can see it again later. Okay. So my contact info, it's at the beginning also. I'm gonna show it to you right here. So that's my email. You can write to me or you can reach directly to Jimena or Felipe to quote your project. So if you have any project or any yeah, project you're working on, you need a quote or you need any help with us to see which is the best inverter for each project, please feel free to contact us to tell us, and we're gonna be really glad to work with you. So thank you all for being here. Please let us know if you need anything. And well, I hope to see you in the next webinar, and I hope to be really soon. So thank you all. Have a great day and a great weekend. If you have any question, please let me know. I'm going to be here a few minutes to answer.